basically, I kind of wanted your opinion because you did Ancient Ramming when you were filming the ParaPod movie,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, and that was kind of an odd time because that was it the day after John died?
It was the day. It was the day that he died. We were getting ready to go, and we literally got a phone call from Caroline saying, "Just let you know, Dad died this morning." And it was, we were sort of obviously ready to abandon the trip, and she insisted that he would still want us to go there and do it. So we went, and it had. The only way I can describe it is it had like an air of sadness to it. It had a bit of a sad feeling, because John Humphreys was that building. He was, it was as much part of him as he was part of it.
Yeah.
And there's personal touches from him absolutely everywhere. Just in terms of the handwritten stuff that's around, and it felt quite sad.
Obviously, it did mean like a huge amount to him, and people say that the ramming's quietened down a bit in the last few years. But I wonder now if John might linger there, even because you did have such a strong attachment to that place.
Maybe. I think he was also quite religious, though. So part of me would hope that he's not there, and that he is, his path has been whatever, whatever faith that he was part of, and he's now, at rest, really, because I don't think his last few years were the happiest. So yeah, I hope that he's more settled, and whatever is in there is I don't know, maybe brooding, maybe sulking a bit that he's not there anymore to look after them.
The other thing you experienced when you were filming the movie was a terrifying vision, and you'll probably think I'm mad for this, but I mean that's kind of what I want to experience. Like, whether tonight convinces me that it's ghosts or not, I kind of want to go in there and have an experience that other ghost hunters have and run from that building.
Well, my own personal experience of it wasn't very pleasant, and I had a real thing of be careful what you wish for. Because when you're faced with it, it might not actually be what you want, because it immediately asks more questions than it answers. And of course, the Rams got such a history of it being active, and of course being violent as well. You've got several different things to sort of deal with there. So I would say tread carefully, not just for the spirits, but also some of that wood was really rotting when we were last there. It's a very old building.
So do you think I've got a chance of seeing something tonight, or experiencing something tonight at the very least?
I think you've got as much chance as anyone. I think you've probably got more chance on your own because you haven't got other people banging around, and I say that respectfully. It's an old building. Somebody walks across the floor in one part of the building, it creaks at the other end. You know what I mean? So it's it will obviously creak naturally itself as it cools down as you go into the evening, but I think you'll be able to pick up on the more subtle things that will be happening. And also, I think that when you do have a fear factor, when you are scared, you do kind of give off an energy that makes you a bit more susceptible to these things so that they can feed off it. I would say that you've got a better chance than most because you're in there on your own. That there's not very many people get the opportunity to do it the way that you're doing it.
That's what I'm really looking forward to, actually. I think every noise I hear, I know it's not going to be another team knocking somewhere else in the building. I know it's not going to be someone shuffling their feet. And I'll have that opportunity to literally sit in silence for, a period of time and just get used to the building and get a real feel for it. And I think that's something you can't do on a public event or in most ghost hunts because it's boring as hell. But I think that's what I need to do to kind of connect to it.
I think you also get a chance to do something that a lot of investigators don't, which is you get to kind of live in the house as, as it would have been lived in, because, nobody when they actually lived there was walking around with devices saying, is there anyone there? Something make a noise. You can go, you can sit, you can try and relax, you can try and sleep at some point in the night. So you're making yourself more of a connection with the building than you would somebody who's walking around in a group trying to do table tipping or whatever, and cat balls around the place. You get to live it as opposed to try and experience it.
Well, to kind of try and build on that mundane kind of normalness of it, what I'm doing is each hour I'm walking around the building and taking the temperature from various thermometers that are spread across the building. And it's not so much that I want baseline tests. I just feel that by doing kind of repetitive, mundane task, will kind of get me out of my comfort zone. I'll just be wandering around completely focused on what I'm doing. And I think that's a good chance for stuff to then shine through.
Yeah, exactly. And plus it means that, it's a watched kettle never boils,
Yeah.
So it does mean that if you are just getting on with things, and if something does want your attention, then it'll try and get it. If you're ignoring it, I sometimes think that's a more effective technique.
The other thing is, like, week after week, people go in there and they'll sit in a room and say, is anyone here? Can you tell me your name? And I'm thinking, that's a ghost. That must be really boring. So I was going to do some DJing just up in the witch's room, just play some music for like 20 minutes, half hour, and, see if that raises the energy, see if anything happens or moves or falls while...
It's a good idea. It's a good idea. What music are you thinking of playing?
Well, I thought I might drop the Ghostbusters theme tune and, I don't know, a bit of Martin Garrix, some, uplifting house or something, just raise the energy.
Erasure are very, very good at summoning the dead.
Oh, I could do some Erasure for you. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, a little respect.
Yeah.
Little respect for the dead.
But is there anything else that you think I can do to kind of raise the energy in since it's a different situation?
I think if it was me, the way I would do it would be to, do the usual things, do the usual investigating techniques, but then just try and live in the house in the building for a night. Just try and let yourself become relaxed, and try and, just make yourself as open and as available to whatever may be in there as possible. Maybe try and sleep, because of course we know the stories of, the succubus and things like that. These are all things that tend to come, when people are, asleep, and when they wake up, that's when they experience them. So, maybe try making yourself completely vulnerable, and you can't be more vulnerable as when you're asleep. So,
do you think there is any risk with this?
I mean, there's risk in everything. I personally don't know if I would put myself in that situation. Like, I don't think I'd do it on my own, because I think because if anything goes wrong, you are on your own there. I do think there's an element of danger to it, and I'd be careful. I'd be constantly aware that you may be playing with something you don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, the upside is I've kind of got this van as a refuge, so if it does get too much at any point, the plan is kind of to get out of the building, come in here, have a cup of tea, calm down for a bit in something that sort of feels like my own space, and there's a little bit of safety for a bit. Yeah. I mean, I've got the option to sleep here in the van as well, but like you say, I think there's something about sleeping in.
Try and sleep in there. Have you decided which room you would try and sleep in?
I think I'd go for the bishop's room.
It's got to be the bishop's room, I think, hasn't it? That's if I had to send someone in to do it, that's the one I'd pick. I think you're very brave, especially. I know you're skeptical, but I do know that you've had an experience now that does leave you maybe more open to believing these things.
Yeah, I mean, the experience I had wasn't massively dissimilar to yours, but it was such a flash that it was hard to really understand.
Where was it?
It was Woodchester Mansion, and I saw what could be described as a grey figure kind of appear in front of my eyes. And I didn't use the words monk-like or hooded to describe it, but when I drew it for the team that were there, they did say, oh, well, we've had reports of a hooded figure in that same corridor. And my drawing could definitely, and what I saw could be interpreted as a hooded figure. Like I said, the skeptic in me, I wouldn't go as far as saying I thought that it was kind of proof of the dead were wandering around that night. But I think what I saw, other people would describe as a ghost. They saw a ghost. So I think I'm justified in kind of saying I think I saw a ghost that night.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it was. It's definitely weird. And it's, like you say, just more questions than answers, isn't it? Whatever we achieve.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good luck with that. I hope it goes well. And please do text me an update and let me know. Let me know you're alive.
Will do. Thanks very much. I don't normally do this. I don't normally film investigations. I was given a unique opportunity to go to the ancient Ram Inn completely on my own. Well, that scared me to start with. Just room, make some noise! Gonna set up some trigger objects. What will it be like spending the night at the ancient Ram Inn? I am kind of nervous about it because I think it's an endurance test as much as a test of my paranormal investigation abilities.